NLP means neuro-linguistic programming, and it is based on a science, a very advanced science, that is a hybrid blend, if you will, of psychology and a understanding that the mind has been programmed and conditioned very much like a computer from the age, from birth. You've been programmed and conditioned by your environment, by the people in your family, by your religions, by your school, by your culture, by your belief systems. In other words, your environment programs you to behave in a particular way, and it's very set, and it's very predictable. And so for those of you who may have habits that you wish you could break, or beliefs that you wish you didn't have, you may have a belief, like what would be in a belief that you wish you didn't have would be like, well, I'm stupid, or I'm fat, or I'm no good, or I'm not good enough. That would be a belief. Now, a belief is not the truth. A belief is a conviction that something is true, and then you produce evidence to verify that belief. So you draw into you, by your beliefs, the things that will verify that that belief is true. So to the believer, a belief is the truth. But in neuro-linguistic programming, we understand that it is not necessarily true. So you may have a limiting belief that has held you back throughout your whole life. I'm not tall enough, I'm not good looking enough, I'm not smart enough, or whatever it is that you're not enough of, or I'm no good at relationships, or I'll never make any money, or any number of things that people carry around hidden to themselves. Now, somewhere in your conscious mind, you actually know that you have these beliefs, but they usually get put on a back shelf someplace. But like a program that runs your computer, it's hidden from your view, and yet it is determining what you see and what you don't see. It determines, this program determines what you hear and what you don't hear, what you believe and don't believe, and who you will attract into your life, what kind of relationships that you will have. It determines your level of finance and your level of health. So internal programming is registered, if you will. It's where the memory of it lives, is in your neurological system, your automatic nervous system. Okay? It's stored throughout your body. And in neuro-linguistic programming, we have found the linguistic part, linguistic, is that through language we can recontextualize and actually repattern or reprogram, is another way to say it, those patterns of thought and belief, so that you're no longer stuck with them. You can actually erase old programming. For those of you who know a little bit about computers, or who know a lot about computers, if you had a problem with your computer and it, let's say you had a virus in it and it was not functioning the way it was supposed to, a computer programmer could come in, like a neuro-linguistic programmer does with your life, and through a series of inquiries begin to locate where the bad code was, where the damaging string of code was, and you could be able to highlight that and literally erase it. Just press delete and completely erase it. Now once it's gone, it's gone. That negative programming cannot come back unless somebody puts it back. Unless you put it back or somebody else puts it back, and then it would be very difficult to do, because we also program in a recognition system that's already there, that comes from your own subconscious mind, that, wow, that wasn't a very good thing to have in my life, and I never want to have that again. So we put in a new program, if you will, that not only will recognize whenever there's anything resembling that old habit or that old way of being, but will completely and automatically and just sort of subconsciously, without you having to remember or think about it, reject that option and program in new, more empowering options for you to be able to make the choices that will empower you to have happy, fulfilling, intimate, passionate, loving relationships if that's something that you would like to have, or to make more money, or to lose weight, or maybe to gain weight if you find that that's something that you want to do. So it's also very, very effective for things like phobias. There are people who are afraid to get on airplanes. You know, like a phobia is an intense, irrational fear, and an intense, irrational fear that when you're in the grips of it, you're not able to function normally. Like your breath isn't right, and your hearing and your seeing is not accurate, and you have a panic. Your body, don't have full control of all of your facilities. A phobia is a common phobia. A lot of people are afraid of spiders. I don't like them. I'm not afraid of them, but a lot of people have phobias about spiders. That's it's so common that they've made films about it, right? Arachnophobia. And heights is another thing that people have phobias about. Or people may have phobias about dogs or cats or any number of things. The dark. So people who have phobias, that's an intense irrational fear. In other words, if you think about it rationally, perhaps there's nothing really to be all that scared about. Maybe be careful, but not totally panicked where your breath is interrupted and your face flushes and your eyes narrow down and you can't hear what's going on around you so well because you're so listening for or in a hypertension state of mind. So that would be a phobia, okay? And that is a program. It is literally it's like a virus in your program. And something like that is something like that used to take years and years and years of therapy to be able to really never actually deal with it or overcome it, only just be able to tolerate or manage it. But the actual panic attack doesn't usually completely get erased or go away. It's always there waiting to happen. Claustrophobia is a very common one where people get closed in and they can't stand it and they panic. It's a very common phobia. So in neuro-linguistic programming, we're able to actually erase that quickly. And I'm talking about minutes. It's not hours, it's not days, it's not months, it's minutes. Within less than an hour, in a conversation, that's what the linguistic part is, because it's just a conversation. In talking and speaking, back and forth with a master of neurolinguistics, you can actually begin to erase old programmings, install new, more empowering programmings, and be sure that that other one never comes back, that it's just gone. Okay? If you erase something from your computer and delete it completely and then put in something else, it's gone. And the new thing's there. So it's as simple as that. It's a fascinating technology. You may hear in my voice that I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about it because I needed to do it for myself. I learned about what I'll be sharing with you on this show is not just about NLP, not just about hypnosis, which is another fascinating and very, very powerful technology. And I'm not talking about stage hypnosis where they use hypnotic trance as an entertainment, because that is not what we're talking about in hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy is not a therapy in itself. It is a therapy that takes place inside of a hypnotic state or trance. Now, a lot of people say, well, I can't go into trance. I don't know what trance is. I don't want to. But I promise you that if you've ever watched a movie all the way to the end, cried and laughed and got scared and gone on the adventures during the movie, along with the characters in the movie, that, for example, is a trance. If you've ever read a book and been taken up in the story, involved so deeply in the story that you learned lessons along with the character in the book, and you identified with the character in the book, and when they were happy, you were happy, and when they were sad, and if there was something about to happen, you couldn't put the book down. That is a trance. It's a light state of trance. However, a trance is simply focusing on a specific area of awareness while fully awake and alert and alive, with complete choice. If you chose to stop the movie and go get some popcorn, or put the book down and pick it up again the other day, you could do that. So it's not like you lose control when you're in a trance. You have choice. And so hypnotherapy is the induction of a light state of trance, like in a story, like in a conversation with a friend, that in which the therapist guides you to your own more empowering resources. I can't convince you to do anything that you don't want to do, and I wouldn't want to. That would be counterintuitive not only to your well-being, but to mine. So all I can do is find your resources with you, discover things that may be hidden from your own view, that are empowering, that are positive, that are parts of your character that you may not have seen because you are already in a disempowering trance. Almost all, 99, I'm going to say 99% of the people that you and I meet from day to day are walking around in a disempowering trance. They have some internal conversation going on in the back of their mind. That's why linguistic, because it's in words. You're so stupid. Oh, how could I do that? You know, those things that people say to themselves with emotion, with a conviction, with belief that they say to themselves. Those are trance-like states, but they're disempowering trances. How many people do you know that are walking around thinking the best of themselves and thinking the best of others and looking and excited about today and the possibilities of adventure that they're going to go on today, and what are they going to discover and how are they going to make more money and make more love and have better relationships? Most people aren't walking around in a state of trance that is empowering them to be all that they could possibly be, and to be the fullest expression of who they truly are, not somebody that they've made up in order to get by socially. You know, all of us have a social mask that we put on around our families or around our business or around our boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife or kids. We have different personalities. I call them social masks that we wear throughout the day, and they are also trance-like states. But what if you could be just one? What if you could be your actual true self always and never have to pretend or put on anything for anyone? Just be the one you really actually are, and have that be funny and charming and lovable and powerful and spiritual and all of the things that, and healthy and all of the things that you would admire in another human being, but maybe you feel that you don't have that in yourself. Well, this kind of work is all about empowering you to find those resources in yourself. I'm here to tell you that you do have those resources in yourself. You are all of that. And so neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, hypnotherapy is all about assisting you, facilitating you in discovering in a matter of minutes resources that may have taken you years, decades, or even lifetimes to discover. You know, most people don't discover who they really are and what their life is really about and devote their life to something that they're passionate about until later on in life. Usually it's too late. You know, usually it's late in life, and then we go, oh man, you look back, and that's what the midlife crisis is about that we talk about. We call it a midlife crisis. It's actually good news in the sense that at one point in your life, about midlife, you begin to discover that the life you've led up till now isn't it. For most people, it isn't it. We've been trying to make it through elementary school, then junior high school, then high school, then college, and then try to get a job and get a degree, or maybe get married or raise the kids or make some money or buy a house. So everything that we've been attempting to do is all so that we could get to a place in our life where it'll all work out. And so about halfway through your life, around 40, 45, 50, you look back at all that you've just spent half your life trying to get someplace. And by the way, that's a turning point, because in the first part of our life, everything is about moving into life. We're moving into life. We're exploring into life. And then there's a tipping point where we start looking at, well, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? We see our life as tapering off, not reaching some grand climatic ending, but tapering off. So most people begin to go, this is what I've given my life to so far. Do I want to do that for another 30, 40, 50 years, depending on how long you're planning on living? Or is it time for me to make a change, and is it too late? So that's a great question to be asking, actually. It's actually good news, but we call it a midlife crisis because for everybody around us, it's a crisis. For your kids, for your wife, for your mother, for whoever's around you and depending on you and who've gotten used to you being that certain way, for them it's a crisis because suddenly those things don't matter to you anymore. Suddenly your priorities have changed and your values have changed and where the direction that you want to move in is changed, so they call it a crisis. And, that's when you see a lot of divorces, you see a lot of bankruptcies, you see a lot of people, starting to have affairs or moving in with someone else or moving out. You see a lot, or on the positive side, going back to school, learning a new career, selling their business and starting something else, or quitting a career that they've had for years and starting a new business. So those are some of the more positive expressions of a midlife crisis or midlife turning point. And again, those are all programmed in. So my work with you, that I do with my clients and that we do in our seminars and workshops, is to empower people to become aware of their pre-programmed, preconditioned, automatic programming, if you will, conditioning that they've inherited from their religions, their families, their schools, their cultures, and that have held them back and hindered them in some way in their life, in their life and in their full expression of their selfhood or their true self, and to begin to challenge some of those beliefs and to do your own thinking, to challenge some of the things that you may have been taught, and to begin to think for yourself rather than just keep repeating something that you learned that somebody else thought years ago, maybe thousands of years ago. And, there's many religions or schools of thought or philosophies that, if they said it a very, very, very long time ago, like the longest time ago that they could possibly have said it, then we, for some reason, believe that it is even more true or more valid. Somebody that said something 2,000 years ago, because so many people have gone to war over it and fought over it and died over it, we sort of inherit it from our parents without ever asking, do I believe that's true? Let me think this through for myself. You want to tell me that there's a God up there and then down below the earth there's a hell that's burning, and that if I don't do what this guy wants, then they're going to throw me down there with that guy, and that'll be for all eternity. And so this whole life I'm here for is to try to make this one happy so I don't go down there and get burned up by that. That was the belief system of the religion I grew up in. Okay? And I just thought about that, and I prayed and I meditated and I got in connection with something that I can only call my own spiritual essence, my own spiritual knowing. And if you've ever had this experience, then you know what I'm talking about. If you've never had this experience, then it's time for you to get alone and be quiet and shut off the TVs and the computers and really begin to contemplate your life. Because there's nothing more painful than an uncontemplated life. A life that's never been thought about. A life that's never taken time for reflection is not a life worth living. So I'm suggesting that you gather and become aware of information. It's good. If you're watching this show, it's because you sensed, believed, or accidentally fell upon. I don't believe there are any accidents. I believe you were guided to watch this show, or you wouldn't be watching it right now. I don't think that it would be possible that you could accidentally just discover this show and hear some guy talking about getting in touch with your own spiritual essence. So if you're watching this message right now, consider that your own spiritual essence has guided you to this moment right now, in which I'm recommending that you take the time, really, to contemplate your own thoughts. Don't just accept my thoughts and my words, but consider them, but then consider them in the light of your own inner knowing, your own heartfelt truth, and take the time to know what that truth is for yourself, for you. You know, don't just accept my truth. This is my truth, and that's what I'm here to talk about. The name of the show is called Love Talk, and my truth is about discovering in various ways through 40 years of studying philosophy, psychology, quantum physics, several forms of science and religion, many religions, and comparing the religions, seeing what they have in common. There was a time when there weren't different countries. There was a time when, India and China and Mongolia and all of these Eastern countries were all just one vast territory. And, Persia was, one vast territory made of different tribes. There was no necessarily unified religious belief. And so people spoke the truth in many different languages. Wise men from every culture and every corner of the world traveled to study and learn from other wise men. They took the time to travel thousands of miles by foot or by donkey or something to go and learn from someone that maybe they had heard of by word of mouth and couldn't possibly know where they were or how they were living, and they would go and find them and learn from them, listen to what they had to say and take it into consideration for their own life. Now, you can go on YouTube. In fact, you can find me on YouTube, but you can find thousands of teachers on YouTube. You can watch TV shows. You can change the channel and see lots of teachers. You don't even have to travel anymore. And in one sense, that's great. But in another sense, it's almost too bad, because it makes the information that you're gathering seem cheap, because you haven't had any investment in it. All you had to do was sit on the couch and turn on the TV, and somebody's giving you some knowledge and wisdom that may have taken a lifetime or many lifetimes to accumulate and to pass on. It's one thing to have some knowledge and wisdom. It's another thing to care enough about other human beings to take the time to put it together in some kind of a clear, concise message and take it to the world. Whether it be in a book or a seminar or a workshop or a television show, it takes something. It takes a commitment, and that's really I personally have arrived at a place in my life where that's what my commitment is. My commitment every day of my life, aside from being a better husband and a better, man and a better boss and a better teacher, is how can I say more clearly, more concisely, in a way that would be compelling and have other people begin to open their heart and not follow me, not put me on a pedestal or think of me in any special way, but to open their hearts to themselves, to your own internal wisdom. And so that's really what this whole teaching called Embrace Growth that we've designed around the company called Embrace Growth, that's really what it's about.